the Senior Developers Guide to their first open source contribution. In the session of today, I'm going to help you take the first step towards open source contribution. And contributing to open source make you a much better software engineer and also helps you to gain visibility with the best companies. And you can see most of the top developers in the world, they are contributing to open source. So the more you contribute to open source, you're going to be interacting with, the best developers in the world. And imagine if you put on your LinkedIn or on your resume that you contributed to JUnit 5 or Jakarta EE or Micronaut or Testcontainer. Those are high-profile projects that will get you ahead of other developers, because I can tell you that less than 5% of the developers contribute to open source. So if you do contribution to open source, your CV and your LinkedIn profile will get a lot better. You're going to get visibility to companies a lot more easily, and you're going to also improve your technical skills. And it could be that, the projects you get on a day-to-day job become a piece of cake, because you're going to be dealing with high-level developers every day on the open source projects. Okay, so now that we talked a bit about open source, so what are the open source principles? So what makes an open source project successful? You can check the license of the open source. Could be MIT, Apache GPL, and you can check if the open source has good up-to-date documentation. And you can also check the pull requests, how long it takes to merge a pull request. You can check if they have frequent releases. And, one way to check if they are consistent with the long-term maintenance, you can basically check the GitHub diagram. So basically you can see how many commits they had in the project throughout the year or throughout many years. So you can easily check that in any project. I can show you later. And how can we start contributing to open source projects? So I'm going to show you in practice how to do that, but you can keep in mind that one of the ways to start contributing to open source is by fixing simple issues. And if you find a typo, you can fix that, or you can start contributing with documentation or broken examples. And why is that? Why do you want to start simple and easy? It's because in the beginning, if nobody knows you, it's very difficult that they would accept a big pull request from you for a new feature, for example. So you need to start small, and then once you gain trust in the projects, then you can create a bigger feature. And another advantage of starting from documentation is that you learn more about the project. So you start small, you learn more about the project, because open source projects are usually, not easy to understand. They are complex, and it's going to take some time until you understand the whole project. So you can start small. And usually in every open source project, they always have the contributing.md file where you can check what are the instructions to contribute to this project. And it will vary from project to project. So from projects to project, there will be different rules, and you need to take some time to read them. And usually what you can see on open source projects is the label, good first issue. And in this label, basically those are easier issues and you can solve them more easily, right? And it's a good starting point, basically. And you can also join discussions in issues or pull requests. That's also a way to contribute. You don't need to necessarily be only contributing with code or documentation. And you can also contribute with open source by creating an article. So for example, if you want to contribute with Jakarta or Quarkus, you can create an article and explain something useful from those technologies. That's another way to contribute with those projects. And don't try to rebuild the project with your first contributions. Just start easy, start small. And like we briefly discussed here, what are the real motivations to contribute to open source? So the thing is that open source is one of the most powerful portfolios you can ever have in your career. Why? Because you're going to see your name. Imagine to see your name on Quarkus, Spring, Micronaut, JUnit 5, or Apache Commons. All of those projects that are vastly used in the Java community. So you can tell your coworker and you can say, hey, you're using Quarkus. And they might tell you, yes, I'm using Quarkus. And you can tell them, hey, I made a contribution to Quarkus. How nice is that? And how nice it is to go in an interview and say, hey, I contributed to Quarkus. I contributed with Spring. I contributed with JUnit 5. Imagine if the interviewer asks you, hey, do you know about JUnit 5? And then you say, hey, I made a contribution with JUnit 5. How cool is that? It's very cool, right? And you gain a lot of advantage during the interview. They see you with different eyes, basically. So that's the power of open source. And the good thing is that it's easy to get started, right? And the thing is that one important thing is that once you start contributing with an open source project, and you can choose what is your favorite project. Like if you really like Jakarta, go for Jakarta. If you really like JUnit 5, go to JUnit 5. If you really like Testcontainers, go to Testcontainers. So select what is the best open source project for you. Another great advantage of contributing to open source is that you're going to meet a lot of top developers, and it's important also once you do a contribution to this open source project is stick around. Because remember, the easy contribution is just to get started. You do something that nobody wants to do, but then once you get well known in this open source project, then you make bigger contributions. You create a big feature, you solve a more complicated bug, and that's the way to upgrade your skills as well, right? And very important, once you make a contribution, make it visible. Share that on LinkedIn, share that on Twitter, whatever social media you have, make that visible because you need to draw attention from the companies who would hire someone with this knowledge, right? And what are the things to check before joining a project? So all the projects I'm gonna mention here, all of them, they are great. They are high profile projects and they have lots of contributions as well. So it's going to be fine. And one thing that you must have when you are contributing with open source, you must be patient because sometimes your pull request might take days, if not months, really to be merged. But this also depends on the project you are contributing, and it depends on the size of PR you are creating. If it's something easy to merge that will not break anything, then your PR will be merged a lot more quickly, right? And it's also important that you read the contribution document. I'm gonna show you where this document is, but it will usually be in the root of the open source project. And by the way, for you who stay here until the end of this presentation, I'm going to share the mind map. And in the mind map, there is a question there where I ask you if you would like to have a career diagnosis conversation. And if you want, it's totally free. You can respond yes, and I can schedule a call with you later, okay? Just to let you know. And then you can know the gaps. What are your career gaps? And what are the best practices for contributing with open source? So make small and meaningful commits. And this is a good principle even for your company. Like no one likes those elephant pull requests. This is horrible. It is not good for your reputation as well. Because if you create those elephant pull requests, you make other developers' lives a lot harder. So it's better that you create small, meaningful pull requests. And then it's a lot easier to review your pull request. And you focus your pull request on one problem. And it's also important that you follow the rules, the existing coding style. Obviously, like when you create a pull request, don't use those formatting, those auto formatting tools that will mess up the whole pull request, and it's gonna look like there is a change in the whole file. So don't make this mistake, and also avoid unnecessary dependencies and keep communication polite. So be polite with everyone, you know, because you're gonna depend on other people to approve your pull request. And it's also important to be nice with them because they're gonna help you to be a better software engineer, right? So it's your reputation that is in game here. So make sure that you are nice to people, and because then it's a lot easier to get your pull requests approved. How open source projects sustain themselves. So they usually have sponsorships from big companies. So big open source projects, they are backed up by IBM, Google, Microsoft. So all of these big tech companies, they are backing up those big projects like Kubernetes. There are lots of companies backing it up, and Google is also backing up Kubernetes. And this is just one example, but if you see most of the open source projects, they are being backed up by the big companies. And it's an excellent way to become a better software engineer and to gain visibility more quickly. And there are lots of companies who depend on open source projects like Postgres, Kubernetes, Linux. All of those technologies, those are great examples. The vast majority of the companies are using those technologies. And, we have some foundations that maintain lots of open source projects that, we use those projects in the companies, and they are very popular, like Apache, CNCF, Eclipse Foundation, and Red Hat. They provide commercial support, for example, and what are the high impact open source projects? Linux, Kubernetes, Docker, VS Code, KDE, Postgres, MariaDB, Redis, OpenTelemetry, Grafana, Prometheus, Spring, Micronaut, Django, Fast API. We have also LLVM, Node.js, Rust, Python. So we have lots of cool technologies that are open source, right? Okay, now that we talked about some principles of open source, how to get started, how to take the first step. So I'm gonna show you here in practice how to take your first step on open source project. It's not that difficult. And again, the most important thing is that you start contributing with open source and you are consistent. Because like I said, you don't want to do only one contribution, because that won't help you too much, right? Once you do the first step, once you do the first contribution, you keep it up. You do, I don't know, maybe one per request every week. That, in the year, it will compound. And if you keep this consistency the whole year, you're going to have around like more than 50 per requests during the year. And the more per request you create, the more confidence you're going to gain. And it's going to be easier to create a pull request for a bigger feature. And then you're going to really improve your software engineering skills, because you're going to be working on something that, it's more complex. It requires more knowledge on software engineering. So it's going to help you to gain visibility, like I said, and also to improve your skills, right? Okay, what are the easy to start Java projects? Okay, we have some fast wins for implementations. Like I said, one of the ways to get started with open source is to start from somewhere that people don't want to do. I know that most developers don't like to fix documentation, don't like to write documentation as well. But the thing is that the more senior you become, the more necessary it is for you to improve your communication skills and to write documentation. This also helps you in your career. Okay, and how you can contribute, for example, to Testcontainers. So the thing is that there was a major upgrade on the Testcontainers project, and there are some low-hanging fruit that I can challenge you guys to do it now. You can basically fork this project and create a pull request and fix that. And if you fix that, please send me a message and say, hey, Rafael, I did it. And it's going to be great. It's your first step on open source, right? Yeah, basically there was this major upgrade and many files from the project test container got messed up, and I can send an in here. And this is a low-hanging fruit. Basically, as you can see on the test container project, after they did this upgrade, this documentation got messed up, right? And it's very easy how you can solve that. You can basically format this code, and you can even use AI to assist you to make contributions to open source. And I'm not saying that you should use AI 100%, because obviously AI is just an assistant. It's not like AI won't do everything for you. Basically, you use AI to say, hey, what is wrong here? Like you could get, for example, this whole file and say, AI, what is wrong here? And then AI will point to that thing here because it's badly formatted. And then you can say, okay, AI, this is badly formatted. And AI will explain to you that there was a major upgrade, and that's why it became messed up like that. And then you say, okay, AI, and how can I do the right thing here? And sometimes AI will mess up. They will give you examples from Kotlin. And as you can see, this test containers project is from Java. It's not from Kotlin. But yeah, sometimes AI will mess up, and that's normal. That's why you need to review the code and see, hey, does that make sense? Is it what I really need to do here? So use your software engineering skills. You can use AI as an assistant, but don't fully rely on AI. That's really important. And if you fully rely on AI and there's something very AI obvious and you create a pull request like that, it's going to be bad for your reputation. So be careful with that. And yeah, just to let you know. But I recommend you, like, do your first pull request. I'm going to show you more examples here, more examples where it's quite easy to get started, but that's one way in this test containers project. And as you can see, there is, in almost all the documentation projects, there is the same error, right? So you could create lots of pull requests here, fixing that. Okay, that's one example. You can also contribute with JUnit 5. So there is documentation here as well. And how can you find that? So basically, you go to the JUnit project and you look for the label documentation. So there is this label here, documentation. So where is it? So you can select documentation, and there you go. You can see all the issues that has documentation in it, and you can fix documentation here. Or you can also work on parameterized tests, and those could be low-hanging fruit as well. So you check here, what is the issue that you would like to work on, and create a pull request for that to give your first step, right? And another project to get started with open source projects is utility libraries. Apache Commons is a very good project to get started, and there is a link here. Basically, in this method, it's not fully covered. And basically, you can see this method. You can see what is the scenario that's not being covered, and you can add a test here. So you can check other methods from the JUnit 5, and you can see, okay, is this test fully covered? Are there some weird case scenarios that is not covered? I don't know if they would count that, but for example, they're not covering the scenario of emojis. So you can pass emojis here. And one way to contribute to JUnit 5 is to check if this method capitalized from string uToos. You can check if all the scenarios are being tested. And you can come here to this class. Let's see here, string uToos. And you can see the method capitalize. And you can see here what they want to be tested. And you can also use AI as an assistant to help you cover more edge case scenarios. Like I said, it's important that you use AI as an assistant. Don't fully copy things from AI. It's important that you always check because AI makes a lot of mistakes. You can check the other projects like Apache Commons collections, and you can come here, for example. So on Apache, you can see that there are lots of projects, Commons collections, and you can have a look, like what can you do here? So like I said, in every open source project, there is always the contributing section in the root of the project. So if you go to Commons collections, you can see here that they have instructions to start contributing to this project. So they tell you some rules here, for example, no tabs, and respect the existing code style for each file, create minimal GIFs in the code. So there are some instructions here and you can start contributing. You're gonna always see this section of contributing, and you're gonna learn how to do the contribution. And there are some good metrics here if the project is good or not. So there are 711 stars, 502 forks, lots of contributors. So those are good metrics to know if a project is good or not. And let's see here some other metrics. You can see there commits. There are many commits, and you can see code frequency since 2004, 20 years of project. It's a lot. That's a way to see if the project is good or not. Obviously, like those are very famous projects. We know they are good. We know that we see those libraries in every Java project. But anyway, just to show you. And if you like JHipster, why not? Make a contribution to JHipster. Quickly. So if you like this tool, go for it. Apache Commons, IO. So all of those, like there are so many projects on Apache, right? There are lots of low-hanging fruits here. And for example, if you're using a project in your company, and let's suppose you're using Apache Common Lang, and you miss a method there, why not contributing to Apache Commons and add an useful method? So that's an option as well. Like if you're using those tools and you don't have what you want, why not creating your own pull request and creating what you want in this open source project? And there are also annotation processors, and you can do some contributions to map struct, for example. You can also contribute with modern frameworks. For example, you can contribute with Quarkus. And one way to get an easy start on Quarkus is by adding translations. And I'm going to show you here how you can do that. And feel free to create a pull request. You can find your own language here. So there is Spanish, and you can translate. You can create the translations for Spanish and for Portuguese. So let me show you here. So there is this PT. So the name, then the URL is quarkus.io, then pt.quarkus.io. And in this project, you can see that there are also the instructions to get started, right? So they explain everything here. And there is the contribution guide. So it's all written in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. And there is this file. So you can find this file here. You can click here. And basically in this file, you can see what is the percentage of translation from each of those. So for example, like this file here, it's only 4% translated. So how can you find that? So you can see here, I10N, PTBR, where is it? It's Paul, PTBR, and you can see guides, and then you can see this Quarkus Maven plugin. You can come here. This is not a good example because I can't see the fuzzy notation. So basically, I'm going to show you here. Yeah. So as you can see here, those translations, they were made automatically, which means that it needs confirmation. So it needs to confirm if this message is right or wrong, right? So basically your goal to translate those documents is, so whenever you check if the translation is correct, you remove the word fuzzy. And here you can use the help of AI. Just make sure that the translation is correct. And again, yeah, like I said, don't blindly use AI. Make sure that you check every single text here. And you can translate to your own language, right? So you'll find repos for whichever language for sure. Yeah, so this is an easy way to start contributing with Quarkus. And then the more you stick around and you gain trust, it's going to be easier and easier to make bigger contributions, right? So that's another example to, contribute with one of the most important Java frameworks in the world. It's a low-hanging fruit. You can do that. And look how many files we have to translate. I will show you again. Look at this. So many. Look at this. There's a lot of work, guys. So there's a lot of work that will be highly beneficial for you to get visibility as a Java developer and also to improve your skills. And once you do enough contributions that you're really tired to do minor contributions, then make a bigger one. The intention is that you start small and then you grow bit by bit. You get out of your comfort zone bit by bit and you make bigger contributions. So the idea here is that you give your first step, your first contribution easily. But remember, it's just the first step, right? The consistency is very important. Okay, and we also have Jakarta. So if you go here, you can see Jakarta EE. And Jakarta EE is huge. It's huge. And as you can see, there are not so many contributors. So there's so much space here for you to make your contribution, right? And if you already worked with Java EE, or if you're working with Jakarta EE, why not make a contribution here, right? Why not getting started with that? Jakarta is a very important project. It's vastly used in many corporations. It's used in Spring as well. So it's a very important Java platform. There is Halidon, Drop Wizard, Micronaut. So there are many projects to make your contribution. And the thing, guys, is that, once you do contributions to those projects, for example, Red Hat is a good example. Like they only hire developers who make contributions with their open source projects. So if you make enough contributions to Quarkus, you can be sure that someone from Red Hat, someone from IBM will reach out to you, because that's how they hire developers. And even if Red Hat don't reach out to you, I can assure you that other companies will value you a lot more because you made a contribution to a core framework. Because think about it, the vast majority of developers don't contribute to open source. So if you make even a simple contribution to an open source, you are ahead of the vast majority of developers, right? So it's very important that you do that, to take action, you do that. And there is also this project from a friend of mine here in Dublin called, he's Rogerio, and he created this OpenJ proxy project called, the name of this project is OJP. And it's an excellent project to get started because the community is still growing. You can join their Discord group and you can get one of those good first issues. And this project is excellent for senior developers because it's, not an easy project. It's basically a proxy for databases, and it's a good project to get started because you're going to have a lot of support. Since the project is still, growing, it's still not big enough, it's easier to talk to other developers and, maybe you can do pair programming with some developers and you can learn from very experienced developers and you can practice your communication skills as well. So it might be a great option, right? Why not contributing to the OJP project? And that's a great way to get engaged in the Java community, and you can share your contributions on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and that will help you to gain visibility and to get access to the best companies. And like I said, you're going to be working with highly skilled developers. It's going to help you a lot technically to improve. And okay, so this is the OJP project. There are more projects from Gradle and for messaging. Those are not easy projects, but if you like Kafka, for example, why not contributing with Kafka, Redis? Great. That's it, guys. Okay, Challenger, and for you who stayed until the end of this wiki live, I'm giving you a gift. So I will leave a link here for a free career diagnosis session. We're going to help you find the gaps so that you get international job, you get the job you want, and you advance your Java career more quickly. If you want the mind map, and I can give you the mind map as well. So the link is here in the description below, and take that advantage because the spots are limited, and I'm looking forward to talk to you, okay? So I'll see you then. Cheers.